Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. This is Jimmy and my business is called Send It Delivery Co. And that's a DBA name, meaning I get to call my business whatever I want, and that's what I want to call it. Today I want to talk about, today is somewhere around day 40 of being in business under Send It Delivery Co., which was a restart, a hard restart, having operated under a different company name, having had a whole lot of issues under that company name, some resulting from my inexperience, but others resulting from being improperly placed out of service by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration when they made a mistake, and when my insurance company did not do the proper follow-up after that mistake had been corrected. I have different videos on that, so I'm not going to go into that. I guess that's just my way of saying things weren't going well. It wasn't all my fault. Some of it was, some of it wasn't. But the progress of that business was definitely disrupted so much that I felt it was in my best interest to start a brand new business. Have a video about that as well, with a $500 van. $800 van, $500 starting fund. And for the first 3 weeks, I did a weekly video about my progress, which was a video that I feel, looking back on it, and even felt at the time, even though I shared a lot of numbers, like how many miles I've driven, how many deliveries I've completed, how much money I've made, I felt that that's a very incomplete picture, because it did not say how much I've spent on fuel, how much I've spent on other expenses. It was kind of a one-sided story, right? Because I wanted to focus on the money that's coming in, and that is not any way to give the numbers on a business. So while those videos I think were interesting, and I saw them as serving the purpose of trying to gather some interest in my channel and put some content out there, I've done a lot of introspection since I've restarted this business. And one of the things that I've realized is I don't want to put information online that could be misleading in the slightest, even if it does accomplish the goal of driving views to my channel and audience and subscribers. Obviously, I want those things. I would love to have a successful YouTube channel in addition to a successful business. I wish I would consider those two things separate, because even though the business is the subject of the channel, running a YouTube channel is still a different thing than running a trucking business. But I think that starting your own business, it's something I did at a very confusing time in my life. And along with what I said about what happened with my business, in being honest about that, it was a confusing time, both because of things that were going on with me personally, due to my decisions and the outcome of things that I had aimed for in life and not achieved. And I won't go into those personal details, but there was that going on. And then there was also COVID going on, which obviously was something I had very little control over, but it did affect what my life looked like. And I decided to try to build a delivery business, much the same as my restart looked like. When I first started, it was with a van, and actually at that point in life, less than $100 in a startup fund. $400 van, $100 or less in a startup fund for fuel. Literally wasn't sure if I was going to have enough gas in the tank to finish those very first deliveries I did. I have had a lot of doubt over whether that was a good decision or not. And I think if I could go back in time, it's very, very likely that I would make the decision not to start a business. A lot of reasons for that, but I think I'm going to summarize them by saying it took too much of my life and my time away without adding enough to it. And yes, it was sometimes exciting. It was an adventure. It did bring money in at times in fairly large quantities, but at the same time, until you know how to manage that, it's really easy to get overly excited about those large payouts and forget that there's going to be times where there's nothing coming in at all and money going out. And so I would say that overall, starting a business maybe was not a great choice for me, especially the first time. I think the second time around, I had a different mentality about it. And I guess that's always the story you tell yourself. You know, you always tell yourself the story that the decisions you've recently made are good ones. Um, and I think that's possibly true. And I think there's also a very real argument to be made, at least, for maybe not having restarted my business and doing everything I could to get as far away from it as possible, as far away from this line of business and and pursuit and undertaking. So um, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time getting too deep into all of that. I think, at some point, once you've committed to something, once you're in something, it makes more sense to move forward than back. It makes more sense to try to see it through, to try to hit that next level. And that's where my aim and my mindset is going to be. But I do just want to say, the last thing I would want is for my channel to inspire somebody to do something that's not in their best interest. And if you're looking at going into any sort of business involving transportation and running vehicles on the roads, I think you may really, really want to evaluate whether that's the right choice or the best choice. Another piece of advice, as long as I'm on the subject, that I would give myself maybe is, if you feel you just absolutely must start a business, really think about what exactly you'd really like to be in and like to be doing and like to be spending that much of your life on before you start it. It's really easy to pick based on, what's available, what seems possible, what seems likely to succeed, where can I make the most money, or where do I think I can make the most money. But I think that when you're just starting out, that is the time to really think about it and be like, what do I want to be doing? And obviously there's different ways of looking at that. I don't want to try too much to convince anybody how to look at their own decisions. Our own decisions are our own decisions. But I just want to make sure that at the very least, I am not, through my videos, promoting something in a way that makes it seem more glamorous than it is. It's most people who've been in any sort of transport say it's not for everybody, and they say that for a good reason. All right, having said that, I want to go into where my business is at, because after about 3, maybe 4 weeks, I stopped making those videos, by the numbers videos. And that's because, for one, I started to lose track. I didn't, feel like figuring it out. Oh, looking back over the week, figuring out how many deliveries I'd done, how much they paid, checking my account maybe a day or two later and trying to backtrack to the actual, a day on which the week hit and figure out how much money was in my account at that time. So, a lot of just personal laziness issues, but also just getting a little harder and harder to keep track, since I was adding more roadie, which is very short delivery gigs that pay, anywhere from 6, which I would never start my vehicle and drive somewhere, pick something up and drive somewhere else and drop it off for $6. But they do go up and up from there, sometimes over $100 a piece. and every once in a while you can get the right one. So I started doing those, and with an average payout maybe around $30-$40 a piece, they're just a lot more to keep track of than doing, 3 or 4 big deliveries in a week, doing like 3 or 4 more in a day. So that made it harder to keep track. Um, and there's also just my attention got really divided. So for the first 3 weeks, I was really focused on back-to-back deliveries, one big delivery after another, as many as I could line up. And a lot of it wasn't even me lining it up necessarily. It was just, it really felt like the universe just aligned, and there was always the next thing, next thing, next thing, which is what I wanted at that time. And then after about 3 weeks, I was like, okay, I don't want this anymore. I want to start to step back and look at my business from the big picture and figure out, where I need to invest time, money, and energy to help my business expand exponentially, because this has been good for what it is. I brought in kept about $3,500, I think, at the end of 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And, having taken a lot of expenses along the way, to have kept that much felt pretty good. But it came at the expense of constant work. And I know that, as much as I don't mind doing the work, I would like to gradually make more money with less work. And I feel and felt that the right step to accomplish that was to slow down on doing the jobs where you never have time to do anything other than get the job done, and start to think about and figure out, where do I invest my time, my money, and my energy to help my business grow more quickly. And then it felt like the universe aligned for that. And actually, it was a little bit scary, because as much as that's what I said I wanted, once I started seeing that there was no available delivery in the known future, I was like, oh no, I don't have money coming in. It's still going out. What happens if it just keeps going out and doesn't start coming in again? This could be the end of my business after just 5-6 weeks. So then I kind of slowed down, and I reminded myself, this is what I wanted. I need to trust that things are happening the way they should, especially when literally what I said I wanted is happening. I have time to sit, think, and figure things out. So that's kind of what I did, and decided to prioritize trying to get a trailer ready so that I can expand and increase what I'm able to deliver, and trying to get my own address, because I live on site at a workplace that is not an ideal address for operating my own business on the side. And I have basically accomplished those things. So I have a trailer that is paid for in the shop, and it technically could be used exactly as it is, but I'd like for a couple improvements to be made to make that trailer safer and more ready to hit the road. And I'm not absolutely positive they're going to get those done on the time frame before I need to use that trailer again, because I did have some big shipments get booked. And anyways, I'm also looking at an apartment tomorrow and have found somebody to go in on that with me, because I don't really want it for a living space. I have a nice, comfortable living space here, but I would like storage, and I would like an address. And I'm a bit nervous about taking on an increased expense to gain those things. But at the same time, I think when I zoom out and I look at it as objectively as possible, and what it should do for me both in theory and on paper, I have to trust that reality will reflect what I can see on paper and in theory. Um, and it doesn't always, sometimes things happen. And like the mistake that was made by the FMCSA and my insurance company last year that put my other business out of business. Um, those things can happen, and it's not guaranteed that if you make the investment and do the right things that everything will align. But I think that that can't prevent me from making those decisions, taking the right steps, and doing everything to make sure that everything on my end is right and is in place. And then all I can do is aim for what is good to aim for. And if it all falls apart, it all falls apart. But um, there's at least a good chance that if it all works on paper, if you stick to that plan, stick to what works on paper, it will work in reality as well. And so that's kind of what I'm counting on. And um, so these past couple of weeks has been a lot less about getting deliveries done, keeping track of income. It's been a lot about just trying to do just enough there to maintain the bank accounts and really start to kind of visualize and gradually work towards that vision in every little way that I can. One last thing I will share, which feels a little bit disjointed from the rest of the video at this point, but speaking of bank accounts here, we'll tie it all together. Speaking of bank accounts, one reason that I am transparent in my videos, I've had people say to me, and I've thought myself, why do I share all this? And seemingly wise people say, hey, keep certain things to yourself, especially your finances and things like that. My business finances are out in the open because, especially when it comes to business, it's not my personal life. And there needs to be a distinction there. And it's very easy for it to feel like it is my personal life, but it's not, and I don't want it to be. I like to keep aspects of my personal life personal and private. But when it comes to my business, that is something that I'm operating for the public. I'm operating it publicly, and I want the public to give me their business. So I feel that it is important and right to be transparent. Um, and also because I'm creating this YouTube channel. And if I'm going to put information out on YouTube, I want it to be accurate and complete information. Like I mentioned in the very early part of this video, which I might actually cut out because I'm just going to say it again briefly here. I don't want my channel to be misleading. I don't want my channel to encourage people to make a major life step without thinking. Starting a business is a major, major life step. You don't start a business with the intention of failing or the intention of backing out after just a couple months. So if you're in it, you're in it, and you need to decide before, preferably, you get in it, that you want to be in it. And so I want my videos to be pretty honest, straightforward, and real, so that if you are watching these and thinking, oh, I want to start my own business, that you actually have decent information, at least when as much as I have control over that. And as I said earlier in the video, first of all, think twice, think 3 times before you start a business at all, and make sure that you're doing something you really want to do. Don't start a business and then realize, like I did years later, like I wish I'd just started something I cared a little bit more about. But anyways, with my bank accounts, my business bank accounts, they're looking pretty okay. I started with a $500 startup fund, and right now, well, actually, I just made What was that payment for? No, I haven't made the payment yet. So right now I'm saying just over $2,300. I'm all caught up on payments for the moment. Um, I'm anticipating using $1,300 to put a down payment on this apartment in the next few days. And I also have a job lined up this weekend, and this $3,500 is something that my customer trusted me with. This is money that is being used to pay for the item that I'm picking up. And I am happy to say that I've earned that customer's trust and that we've already done this, where he sent me the money to pay for the item because it needed to be a cash payment. And, it took continued communication and continued successful deliveries to earn that trust. And I feel very honored, and glad that because it's facilitating a purchase for him that he wants to make, it's also facilitating a delivery for me that I want to do, because I'm at a time where it is important for me to keep money flowing in as I, increase the amount of money that I'm committing to spend on a monthly basis. So this weekend I'm doing a delivery for $1,150, and it involves going out to Minneapolis, Minnesota area, picking up 2 fryers out there, one in Milwaukee, and then I will be holding on to those for about a week and a half until I actually get to deliver them to a warehouse in Chicago. It will not work out for this Monday because I have another delivery lined up on Monday, $350 to bring, what is it? It's an antique, like console, like think entertainment center, but before there were TVs. It's kind of what it looks like. $350 to bring that up north. I'll knock out another pickup that I need to do on the way back down, so kind of a freebie there. Just get that done and out of the way. I have another one lined up on Wednesday, and that is transporting display cases for Allen Antique Barn, which I believe is going to have an online presence here soon. You can already find their website. You Google Allen Antique Barn, Allen, Michigan, Allen, and very cool place there. Friends of mine who own it, run it, and have hired me for this delivery of 18 new display cases for their business. And then I'm working my other job the other 3 days of the week that aren't spoken for with deliveries. So very busy. Money is coming in still, thank goodness, but also there's time around the edges, and I'm not back to back, no time to think or do anything else. And so I'm seeing it settle into right where I want it to be right now. And that is great. So I'm super tired. It's like probably 11 p.m. I need to get up tomorrow, drive to Milwaukee and then Minneapolis, and probably start the drive back. I'll be testing out my resilience in the extreme cold. I plan on sleeping in the truck because I am going up to Alaska, and I'm not planning to buy a hotel every single night on that drive. So far, I've slept in the truck in days that got down into, I believe, the teens, at least the low 20s at night, and I was perfectly comfortable with 2 blankets, which is quite strange because 2 blankets is what I normally sleep with indoors at 65 degrees. Perfectly comfortable though. I believe it will get colder because this week it's been in the teens during the day and single digits, dropping to 0 or so at night. And as I go up even farther north into Minnesota, I assume that it's going to be bitter cold. So that's what's happening tomorrow. I'm tired. I'm going to post this on YouTube. I'm going to go to bed. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night.